What is up, movie viewers? Dena Views and Reviews here, asking, what you watching? Well, it's February, which means that it's Black History Month, and therefore I will be watching and suggesting Black-themed movies and programs that I find informative, interesting, or just plain funny. Today, I am watching MLK and X. It is on Genius, and this movie stars Aaron Pierre as Malcolm X, Kevin Harrison Jr. as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Waruchi Opia, Jamie Lawson, Jalen Hall, Ron Cephas Jones, Lenny James, Gary Carr, Binga Akinebe, and Griffin Matthews. It is written by Jeff Stetson, Penelope Joseph, Maria Warwick Wade, Channing Godfrey Peoples has directed it, and it is produced by Brian Grazer, Ron Howard, Kristen Zoner, and a host of other producers that assisted. Now, MLK and Malcolm X is a part of National Geographic's Genius series. It chronicles the life of both Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr., two of many Black pioneers here in America. Black men and Black women are highlighted. They are leaders and icons that were willing to sacrifice their life, or they went above and beyond in their area of expertise. These people were willing to stand tall and engage in the fight for freedom, equality, justice, and liberation for the Black subjugated people here in these Americas. Now, these were rejectors of white supremacy, of its mentality, of the system that is in place, including the laws and the brutality and the discrimination against Blacks in America. They fought hard to try to do away with that system. Now, this movie will be an 8-part series, and it will be presenting a new episode, as I understand, each Thursday until the series is completed. There are currently 2 episodes that have already been released as of today, and it is proving to be very interesting. And they are presenting Malcolm X and Martin as children, their lives as teens, things that they dealt with, and issues that make them more relatable, and eventually as young adults and adults when they reach the pinnacle of their greatness, or that which made them famous icons that we know today. Now, this limited series focuses on their formative years, as I've said, but it is such an interesting story already. And from what I can see of this series, it's going to be one that is done just a little bit different because of the comparisons almost of the 2 icons. But at this time, I have chosen to withhold my rating for this particular show because it feels like it's still a bit of a work in progress for me. So even though I watched the first 2 episodes and I found them palatable, I'm going to take a moment to wait until it is completely finished before I actually give my rating on the entire series. I did notice a few things though about the first 2 episodes that stood out to me. I think the director or writer really wanted to emphasize Malcolm's mother in his case, that she was of mixed race. And one thing that I found interesting also was that the choice of the child actor that actually portrayed Malcolm, that child looked like it was just a Caucasian. I mean, that was just a white child. I was like, who is that for a moment? So I think it was done to emphasize that his skin tone is because of his mixed race mother. The part just seemed odd to me with his mother in it. The person that was portraying his mother is when the white racist men came to their door and Malcolm's father answered the door. Then his mother also came to the door and she began to speak in her language. It seemed awkward to me that she would speak that way. I think it was to emphasize her mixed heritage. But Malcolm appeared to be a white child, and that tripped me out. when they show him as a youngster. And like I said, it took me a minute to realize that it was actually him that they're trying to portray. But I think there was a message because he was considered to be very light. And it had to do with his grandmother being raped by her slave master. And it is said that it resulted in his mother, of course, and she is of Scottish lineage. But Malcolm had very strong, beautiful African features, of course. The lips and the nose, there was no denying when you saw him what his lineage makeup was. But of course, we know that Malcolm was born May 19th in 1925 in Omaha, Nebraska. And he is the fourth of 7 children. He is born to Reverend Earl Little, who was an African-American Baptist minister. And he's from Reynolds, Georgia. That's just a stone's throw away from me. Imagine that. You know, the Black South has produced some of the most profound people in American history. But his mother, Louise Little, is said to have been born in Grenada, located in the British West Indies. And even though his mother was of mixed race, which is why in Malcolm's autobiography, he referred to her as having straight black hair and an accent where she didn't speak like most of the Negroes, as he wrote, and she appeared to look like a white woman. And it was because, of course, her black mother had been raped by this white man, which was very common back then. And it is believed that this traumatic past had instilled in her this feeling of disgust with her skin tone. And it is further rumored that she never met her father. Malcolm was the lightest of her 7 children, and he believed as a child that he was treated better by his father because of it, and his skin tone earned him the nickname Detroit Red. Malcolm also admitted that he learned to hate every drop of that white rapist blood within him. Now, there were also some interesting revelations about Martin Luther King Jr., which, of course, it revealed in the movie that he was born Michael King, and later was given the name Martin Luther King from his father, who also changed his name. And what stood out and was very noticeable was I think the director, the writer, appeared to show a bit of strife between Martin Jr. and Martin Sr., and that was noticeably emphasis on Coretta Scott King's background, her history, her family heritage, her education, her talents, as well as some of her dreams and aspirations she had planned for herself. It also showed how Coretta Scott King refused to say, obey, and submit in her wedding vows to Martin Luther. Some of her dreams were, an aspiration was to get away from the South. She had had enough. She came from the South and she just didn't want to be in the South. But I think somehow this was included for a specific reason that we may see more of later in the show. And finally, it showed some of the what Martin felt following the loss of his beloved grandmother, which included an attempted suicide by him. Now, Martin was born Michael King Jr. on January 15, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia, and he is the second of 3 children to Alberta and James King, and his father was a Baptist pastor, and his mother, of course, was a civil rights organizer. Again, I am taking the wait and see approach before rating this particular movie series, but we'll do and say what I think it should be rated after I have watched it in its entirety. February, once again, is Black History Month, and to celebrate and honor Black History Month, Dena Views and Reviews will be reviewing, recommending, and checking out movies that feature Black stories, Black directors, writers, producers, and highlighting what I think are great Black performances. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Genius is rated TV 14, and if you would like to check this movie series out, you most certainly can, because it is currently streaming on National Geographic, Hulu, and on Disney+. Subscribe, like, and share your thoughts on this particular movie series. This has been Dena Views and Reviews, inviting you to join me right here weekly for my next view and our recommendation. And I want you to remember, it's my view. Now, what you watching?